Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor and today I have my November wrap up for you. It's coming at you a little bit late. I just haven't had a chance to film it. I had a really good reading month in November. I kind of surprised myself with how much I managed to get read. So let's just dive right in. The first book I read in November, or finished reading in November because clearly I started it in October, was Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I started this in October. It was one of the books I was reading for Halloween-ish. And yeah, I love this book. It's set in a kind of knockoff kind of IKEA where they think there's people staying after the shop shuts and causing havoc. Some people think it's ghosts, some people think it's just people breaking in. A group of staff members stay behind overnight to try and solve the mystery with what's going on. It is horror. A lot goes bump in the night. Was quite creepy and scary. And I believe I did do an individual review for this book, so I'll leave that linked in the description if you're wanting to know more about it. I did really enjoy this story. It was just such a fun format. This book really is like set out like an IKEA catalogue. And I just think that's so clever and was such a great idea on the author's part and made it very enticing for me to want to pick this up. The next book I read in November was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I absolutely loved this book, and again I did do an individual review for this. I'll leave that linked in the description if you're wanting to hear more of my thoughts on this. So good. It's been a long time since I've watched the film, but this is different from the film because the film is more geared towards children, but the book is very much very violent, very graphic. The dinosaurs are tearing people apart. It's so good. It's very scientifically heavy and very science fiction in that sense that it talks a lot about DNA and the kind of technical science aspects behind it. I don't have any words to describe things. But this was really good. I loved this book so much more than I was expecting. One of my favourite books of the year. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was Feed by Myra Grant. I also greatly loved this book. This is a zombie book. I also did an individual review. There's a theme here for this book. I'll leave it linked in the description. I read this because it came highly recommended by two of my friends here on BookTube. Faye and Kayla read it and loved it. And I had to join in because I love zombie books and I hadn't heard of this one before. Very briefly, it is set 25-30 years after the zombie breakout. There's a kind of calm sort of like society's functioning, not normally, but the new normal, and it's following a couple of bloggers who have been chosen to follow a candidate running for presidency in America. Not something I ever really knew anything about or thought I would want to know anything about, but this story makes it exciting and so different. And I love this brand new take on a zombie post-apocalyptic story because it's not the initial outbreak, it's the next step, it's society kind of continuing on. Again, fantastic, would recommend. I can't wait to finish off the series. The next book I read was A Fall of Moondust by Arthur C. Clarke. I listened to this on audiobook. I borrowed it from my library and it's on my quest to kind of read more classic science fiction. I really enjoyed this. Very quickly I saw elements of The Martian by Andy Weir, which is one of my favourite books. And I tried to look up if Andy Weir had mentioned that he'd taken inspiration from A Fall of Moondust by Arthur C. Clarke, but I didn't dig very deeply and I couldn't find anything on that. But A Fall of Moondust follows a time when humanity occupies the moon, and there's this man who's grown up on the moon and he does tours of the moon for people who are coming from Earth, and he does like tours on the surface of the moon and like this kind of like a boat bus type thing. I don't know. And they go out and the bus breaks down and they get trapped and stuck and they spend a couple of days aboard and it's waiting for rescue. As you can see, some of the elements that you might be thinking that remind me of The Martian. I really enjoyed this. It's maybe not for everyone. It was a bit ridiculous because they spend their time putting everyone in little committees and deciding who's going to be the theatrical group, who's going to make games up, who's going to read stories, who's going to do the interrogation kind of role play type thing. It was very much about how they're going to entertain themselves. I thought it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. More just really fun Arthur C. Clarke. The next book I read was Parasani by Susanna Clarke. Again, I did an individual review for this book. I'll leave it linked in the description. This was my favourite book of the year. Pre-warning to any of my end of the year wrap-ups for 2020. This was my favourite book of the year. I can't say much more without spoiling it. You just have to watch my spoiler-free review to get more. It's set in a labyrinth following a man called Parasani, and there's only him and one other person, and it's so good. It's so short, beautifully written, a beautiful book. Loved it. The next book I read was Witches Abroad by Terry Pratchett. This is another book in the Discworld series and another book in the actual Witches series that's like a kind of sub-series within the wider Discworld. I really love the Witches, and this one was especially fun because it was really about like fairy tales and about Shakespeare and about plays and like storytelling and things like that, and it was just a lot of poking fun at classical fairy tales and how there's always a happily ever after, and it's these witches going on adventure trying to stop another witch from causing havoc within these fairy tales and stories, and to stop them playing out as they should and just letting things run naturally. So yeah, it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm aiming to read all of the Discworld books eventually, just one book at a time, quite randomly it seems. And the last book I read in November was The OMG Effect by Reverend Chris Lee. Again, I have an individual review for this book. I will leave it linked in the description if you want to check it out. This is a book about Christianity, and it's written by a reverend for the Church of England, and he's kind of popular because he does 60-second sermons, little snippets on Instagram stories. So he's very modern priest, and he has lots of beautiful words of wisdom to say. Yeah, and that's everything I read in November. I told you it was a lot. And as usual, I don't think I remembered to show this in October. Here is my bullet journal for November, all the books I read, what I rated them, and how much I read. And I'm so pleased with how much I got read in November. Yeah, I read so many great books. There wasn't a single book that I didn't love or really, really enjoy. So I had a great time. Sets me up for maybe not reading as much in December, but I'm going to try and fight against that. So yeah, so let me know if you've read any of these books or if you plan to pick any of them up. How was your reading in November? Chat to me in the comments. And as always, my links are in the description for my social media, and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.